They can hear me. So welcome. We'll start the meeting by having a Karakia. So those people who wish to take part in the Karakia, please stand. Those who don't wish to take part, you remain seated. I'll call upon Councillor Rodley for the Karakia, please.
Good morning. Today I would like to read the English version of the Thames Community Board Karakia, which was gifted to the Thames Community Board by Matua Wati Namani of Ngāti Maru. We call upon all of the indications of our Lord and of the celestial and earthly elements that surround us to lead and guide us in the deliberations before us at this time. We do this conscious of the attentive presence of Ranganui above us and Papatanuku below us. To this we hold fast, united and bound together as one.
Thank you, Councillor. So I declare the meeting open and we'll call for, we don't have any apologies because we have a full attendance, but I'm going to note that Board Member Rakwa will be leaving at 12 noon, and we have a motion on the books for Deputy Chair Rob Johnson, who I shall read out to you because you haven't got it, eh? I read out to you that the Thames Community Board grants leave of absence to the Deputy Chair Johnson from the 3rd of August 2025 to the 29th of August 2025. Do I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Rodney. Do I have a seconder, please? Board Member Rakwa. Any discussion? To be no, propose to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Me? No. Can't be jovial at the meetings. Enjoy. Oh, do you just want to give us a brief thing? No. I thought he might be quite proud of what he's doing. Just briefly, what are you doing? No, he can't do it. Anyway, Rob is accompanying his daughter to who's going for education overseas in Denmark. In Denmark, there you are. So I think it's great that we have another young Thames person travelling overseas to pursue their education. So, public forum. So the public forum this morning, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 speakers this morning. You are allocated 5 minutes each only. At the end of it, please don't say any questions because we'll ask you the questions. And no denigration or comments about council staff or along those lines, because I noticed one board just had, outside this area, just had a terrible problem the other day with a chair denigrating some council staff. So just to bear that in mind. I know it's late in the training to be saying these things, but it is important that we have a good and open forum. Our first speaker today is Mr. Spinks, please. Mr. Spinks in the room. So you can turn one of those microphones on, whichever one suits you.
One?
Excellent.
Does that work?
Yep.
Yeah. Ooh, that's good. Right. Are you going to count me down?
You'll hear this. You'll hear this at the 4-minute thing.
Right. Okay.
This, you're out of order, right?
I'll keep going until you say stop. Okay. Okay. My name is Martin Spinks. I'm here representing homeowners in the Totara Valley who feel they've been ignored and excluded from a project that will have profound effects on the valley and its inhabitants. I've heard comments by the project leaders about engaging regularly with stakeholders of the project. A stakeholder is a person or a group who has an interest or concern about something. As far as we can see, the only stakeholders being invited to the table are councillors, council staff and prospective developers. While CBAS appears to be the one developer likely to proceed anytime soon with 70 houses, I have to assume that the other 430 houses will follow quickly in order to justify the tens of millions that will be required to provide the infrastructure. I would challenge the assumption that 500 more families are eagerly waiting to move into a development 4+ kilometres from town. Where are the local jobs, the amenities, the shops, schools and services to attract them? Is our Three Waters infrastructure able to cope with another 500 more families? Have Wakakatahi's objections to the plans been addressed? Have Waikato Council's concerns over stormwater been addressed? I would question the logic of putting 500 houses into an area already established, a small rural community who moved to the Totara Valley because of its unique properties, which will be ruined by large-scale development. A valley with only one exit onto a busy 80 kph road. I would submit a letter written to you by numerous residents of the valley in 2021 voicing their concerns. I'm informed that no response to this submission was ever received. I've been repeatedly told that families want modern, easy maintenance, well-insulated homes on small sections, and that the old housing stock in Central Thames does not meet those needs. If that is true, then how do we address an increasing number of unwanted, unsellable houses and an urgent need for more housing? An obvious solution would be to facilitate and encourage the densification of housing in Thames Central. There are 131 homes for sale at present within a short drive of Thames, but only one new property. There are, however, a number of homes under $600,000 that sit on large enough sections to allow multi-unit development. This approach would, one, cost the council virtually nothing as the infrastructure is already in place, two, reduce the cost per unit, three, provide additional rates contributions, four, provide regular work for local tradesmen who could take on these smaller developments. Any large-scale subdivision would undoubtedly be carried out by large companies from outside the district. Five, allow most residents to rely on only one car, as access to schools, shops, medical facilities, etc. will be by foot. Six, bring vibrancy to the town centre, and seven, get rid of the old housing. You cannot use flood risk as a reason not to develop east of Pollen Street. If you do, you're effectively declaring Thames a dying town with no future. According to the latest Brands report, new standalone houses are unaffordable. A new 2 to 3 bedroom home and land costs $200,000 more than an identical existing house currently sells for. Multi-unit housing on existing sites is the only way to build affordable houses at this time. Financially, a speculative investment of $12 to $15 million in infrastructure seems an unusual allocation of funds when finance for projects such as the relocation of the swimming pool and flood mitigation has everyone scratching their heads for solutions. Even if all 70 CBAS houses are constructed, and assuming a $34,000 development contribution per unit, this $2.3 million would only pay the first 3 years of a 20-year, $12 million loan at 2.5% interest. Ratepayers will be saddled with the remaining $13 million. As we already know, the current rates per household are barely enough to keep existing services running, so we cannot assume rates from 70 more houses will contribute to the loan costs. Finally, the Infrastructure Minister, Chris Bishop, recently announced major changes to the RMA. One of these changes will be to pass the cost of housing development infrastructure onto the developer and ultimately the purchaser of the house. As Bishop said, it's unfair that local ratepayers should pick up the bill for private homeowners and development companies. This should have been music to the ears of our council, holding progress on this project until legislation passes. But to my surprise, on the 30th of April at the local board meeting, 30 minutes in, the chair of the board asked the local program manager, Luke Archbold, to speed up the Totara Valley project, or central government changes its mind about how we operate in terms of land development, zoning and areas. I'm sure that faced with the possibility, sorry, have I gone over 5? Apologise.
You've had one bell.
Yes.
That was 4 minutes.
And
The second bell is the end.
right.
So any questions of Mr. Spinks, please? Yes, Councillor Rebel.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for the effort you've put into your address, Martin. You say that you're representing homeowners in Totara Valley. By your count, how many homeowners are there in Totara Valley?
I did submit
Yeah, I've read that.
submission
but
here that's got
That's
about.
back in 2021.
Yes, that's right. That's right. I don't know how many of
Okay.
these people will have gone back on what they said in 2021, but the ones I know of, which will be about 10, because we've only been living in the valley a short time, still fully support what I'm doing.
Right. So in what you've outlined to us this morning, you're representing 10 homeowners, or
No, I would say I can only represent myself. I can only say what I believe, although I talk to my neighbours and my neighbours agree
Yep.
with me.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. Spinks? Just to give us some understanding, whereabouts do you live in Totara Valley?
I do indeed.
Whereabouts, please?
Up on the hill behind the sawmill.
Behind the sawmill? Or
Yeah,
in front
the
of
other side of the sawmill. Yes.
Are you adjacent to the current development?
The current development. Well, there's one. There's a development being proposed by Dr. Gunn, Steve Gunn.
Yeah.
For 4 houses.
How many lots
and
on that?
There's 4 lots there.
That's
directly adjacent to my property. I have no objections to that because they're large lot rural sections. I'd sooner he didn't build there, but I'm not going to object to it because I understand that there will be need for more land. I am also adjacent to the proposed 70 lot development, which
would be on your boundary, would it?
yes, but down in the hill. I won't see it. I'll certainly hear it because of the noise that it will certainly generate, but I won't see it from my property.
Okay, no further questions? Oh, thank you, Deputy Chair.
Hello, Rob.
Man, how you doing? Just wonder, one of your complaints is that you don't feel that there's been proper engagement.
Yes.
Okay, so how can that be? How can we engage better from your point of view?
If you read the submission made by my neighbours in 2021.
Yes, I've read it. Yeah.
Yeah. So they felt that they were ignored, that it was a token gesture. Come along to the meeting, make your submission, and then they've heard nothing since. And there doesn't seem to be, I mean, the Seabass development, I can't find any documentation on the council website about that. The Steve Gunn development is going through the planning process, so I can read all about that, but I don't know anything about the Seabass thing. And there's been no communication with residents, even though the residents will be those most affected by this, about what's going on, when it's going on, and how it's going to be, how the disruption is going to be mitigated. People are worried about the traffic, getting in and out of that road. It's bad enough now. What will it be like when there's another 500 families trying to get out of that road?
So you're talking about two projects, the Seabass one, which is underway and at planning, and the longer term one for the part of the spatial plan.
Doesn't have a consent in though, does it yet? As far as I'm aware, there's no consent.
I can't answer that.
No.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, yes, but that's the thing. If you're going to develop that road, it has to be with a view of having all the houses built. You wouldn't justify spending all those millions on developing the road just for the 70 houses that Seabass will build.
Have you read the spatial plan?
The what?
The spatial plan.
The spatial plan, yes.
Have you read the spatial plan? So you don't agree with the findings or the research that was undertaken?
No,
to put that in place.
No, what when I read things like that the development will cause considerable amount of noise, but no more noise than one would expect for a development of this size. Those kind of comments, and there were several comments like that. I find that quite affronting because the noise can be totally unacceptable to the residents. It could ruin people's lives. But because the noise is no more than you would expect when you're pushing the earth around for month after month after month, that's somehow acceptable because it's what you'd expect from that kind of development. So yes, I have read the spatial plan and I read the long-term plan and the Becker plan, the original Becker plan. And all of those, most of those were suggesting that there would be extra roads going in from Maramarahi Road, coming in over the top, and even a road I see from State Highway 25A, the Kopuhikawai Road coming in, giving people options of how to get out. But at the moment, I think all we're going to see is everyone trying to get out on that one stretch of road. And I would encourage people to drive up there and drive into Totara Valley and then come back out again, because it is not an easy road to get out of at the best of time. And I just think that having more and more houses up there will just make it far more dangerous. But I didn't want to come here just complaining about that development. I wanted to offer solutions. And I think, having spoken to other people who are saying how people don't want to live in the old houses in town, well, let's do something about that. Let's try and rejuvenate Thames.
And that is an interesting point of view. But then if that's the case, why aren't the developers seeing that? Because the developer is in it for money, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can see, and they've got the money to spend. So if they are looking around and you're saying that there's houses for 600K around town that they could knock down and put 4 units in, and yet it's not happening, then I guess, the inference is that it's just not there. It's not actually viable, economically viable.
And yet in Auckland, that's really the only viable housing that's going up, is the high density housing around hubs.
Yeah.
Transport hubs. And
I just want to cut to a quick, Mr. Spink, because time's running out.
yes, absolutely.
But I dispute a couple of comments you've made.
Sure.
You're talking about a 2021 letter that went out.
Yes.
Since then, there's been a lot of talk with those properties. In fact, we bought land back off most of those properties to join in the road so we can get the right width of the road.
You had to buy land. Yes.
Yeah.
Here's something somebody said to me the other day. How much have they spent on buying all that land?
That's not my question.
No.
So.
Well, it was mine.
It is yours,
Yeah.
but you don't ask questions.
Sorry.
Right. So there was a meeting here in this building on the 24th of the 1st of 2024, where all the residents were here from Totara Valley Road. Unbelievably, elected members weren't invited. So this is a straight one-on-one between council staff and the people of Totara Valley Road. So, November, sorry. It's been
that was the one of asking people to come up with their ideas of development, what they would like to do. I was at that meeting.
And most people were, as I understand it, were in agreement to what was going to happen up there.
It's interesting because
my question is, were you at the meeting?
I was at that meeting, and my impression was that there were 2 people there pushing for housing.
Yep.
And the rest of those people in that room were against it. And I got up and spoke at that meeting because I had several questions, and they said, "Oh, okay, the floor is yours. Say your thing." I did that. Yep. And when I walked back to my seat, I had a round of applause.
I can't argue with you because we weren't invited.
No, I'm telling you. Yeah.
Staff versus you at the moment on that one. So thank you very much for your input.
Appreciate the time. Thank you.
Mike, sorry, Mark. Does pay to wear glasses occasionally for me. So you have 5 minutes to make your presentation. One microphone's on already. You'll find that you can't operate 2 microphones at once. So have one on, one off, please. Every meeting and every time I'm told you get feedback off one microphone through the other microphone. You cured it? Right, it's cured. Have as many microphones as you like on. I'll leave mine on as well.
Kia ora koutou. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk. Can we hear? Kia ora koutou. Thank you for the opportunity. I've come to promote the Kiwisa Shared Heritage Expo, which in Thames, which we are going to be organising on the 6th of September of this year. The purpose is to celebrate and reflect on the close connections that the Thames community has with South Africa. And the focus will be on war, gold, and rugby. The South African War in 1899 to 1902 is often referred to as the Forgotten War, and yet it shaped much of New Zealand's history. And Thames, the Thames characters, Thames community at the time has got some significant people that were involved. There's lots to talk about that, but I'll just keep moving. The gold is a story which is not known. We all know the Thames School of Mines was a world pioneer in the extraction using the cyanide process to extract gold. And but what is not known is the recognition given by mining leaders in South Africa to New Zealand, and more particularly for here, for accrediting the and this is where the Thames School of Mines would be involved, for rescuing the South African gold mining industry in the 1890s. And I think that's another reason to celebrate. With the rugby, there's no coincidence that the date of the 6th of September is when the All Blacks are playing the Springboks, and that will open the door to a frenzy of excitement and revelry. So it's something to tap on there as well. So this, thirdly, this expo creates opportunities for community involvement. It's going to be led by the Heritage New Zealand, who will be the organisers, and with the collaboration and involvement of the 5 heritage sites, and Margaret will touch on that. There's already considerable school involvement, and as a teacher myself, and working with colleagues and with schools, already there's quite a lot of traction there, and we intend to let that dominate on the day and give plenty of opportunities. Kate Cosworth, who I was hoping was going to be here today, is the school coordinator, and she's leading competitions and exhibition making, which will benefit and be used throughout the sites on the day as well. And then the expats, I was expecting Rian LaRue to be here, donned in his Springbok outfit, but so he would. There's opportunities for the expats to get involved too. So this is an opportunity. The South African expat community alone is growing towards 200,000 now in New Zealand, the fastest growing immigration group. Most of them living within an hour's drive from Thames. So without too much effort, we're putting on something like this, we can attract many visitors into town, people who normally would not come here. I believe that the heritage sites can benefit greatly with people coming through the door, and I believe it's an opportunity for and the economy to thrive. So this has been a success before. A lot of the panels we've used in 2011 with the South African High Commissioner opened that expo, and the Springboks came in 2013. And so there's no reason why this is an extension of that. Margaret, I'll just touch on quickly about the heritage site and the heritage network's involvement.
Right, I'm Margaret Kropf, Chairperson of the Thames Heritage Network, which includes all the heritage sites in Thames. They'll be taking part in this New Zealand South African Expo, and normally each year the Heritage Network has a heritage festival. Last year we integrated with steampunk. We'll be doing the same this year, and this event is just another chance for our heritage sites to open up their doors to a new range of people that haven't perhaps been to Thames before and know what our heritage sites are all about and how wonderful they are. So a good event for us.
Lovely, thank you. And so this, as I say, has been succeeded before, and there's no reason why we can't. We've got enough to run with, and we can keep it a small one, but if we do have, and this is my request to please consider support from the TCDC and the community board for a budget which I've put together. I'm not sure who I should give that to, but that's my request. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Probably would have been better if you had spoken to the budget.
Oh, okay. Do you want to know? Okay, we've put one together for 8,000, and that includes bringing the High Commissioner here as well.
Yeah. Of which country?
South Africa, and we've got potential to bring in the High Commissioner from Britain as well.
Any board members? Yes. Board member Rakwa.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Mike. I know you're working on that subject for couple of years at least.
Marby.
Finally, it's happening. I'm very pleased. And hopefully these events go bigger and bigger. I just noticed that date will be Saturday. Do you have any plan to put something on the Saturday market to promote this?
Absolutely. We are not active at this stage. Our expectations are not to organize too much on the business side, but if it takes traction, by all means, we want to promote the coordinator for the market on the day for South African stallholders to come in. And definitely, I think there will be a response. And Rian has already got people interested. And I know once the word gets out, that will just happen.
Wish you best of luck. Hopefully they have
Lovely.
big success. Thank you.
Yeah, Board Member Rockwell. Any further questions? Being none, thank you very much, both of you, for coming. Yeah, if you, Keith, do you want to go?
Oh, shall I leave? I'll
grab
leave.
that
There's a plan and there's
document off them,
the
please?
budget.
Here we are. We have staff.
Okay. Okay. Super. Thanks very much.
I know.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, we'll go. Have you got the budget? Okay. Oh, shit, really? Next speaker is Sonia, please.
Right. Good morning. Kia ora, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you for your invitation today. My name is Sonia Merce, and I spoke in this panel 1.5 years ago to introduce the Coming Home project. It's coming home, and I've been working on it for 2 years. Coming Home is heading up a healing and recovery centre in Thames for people in need who suffered trauma and have difficulties coping with life. They may struggle with anxiety, depression, anger, addiction, poverty, or they may be sleeping rough. It is for those who are ready to change and would like to start a new life. Over the last 1.5 years, we've been working a lot on Coming Home and have written a business plan and financial plan, governance plan, and feasibility study. The concept is to provide a house with house parents and a program that helps people to heal their hearts, renew their minds, and transform their lives. Coming Home is not an undertaking of the Thames Baptist Church, as some might think. It is an entirely separate venture. The former pastor of the Baptist Church was supportive of it, but Coming Home had never been under their church. And there's also Eddie Churton from the Baptist Church who's trying to establish another project for emergency housing. And this is quite different to us as well because it has no recovery program. As for us, we have a focus on teaching and inner healing. So we have established our own charity and are registered with Charity Services and Companies Office as an incorporated charitable trust board. Mental disorders like depression, anxiety, as well as toxic relationships, addictions, and rough sleeping are all secondary symptoms that generally have their root cause in childhood trauma, which will be addressed and dealt with in our program. Coming Home takes a holistic healing approach with love and compassion as our motives. It's not just about symptom or behaviour management. It's about going to the roots, to the causes that led to the circumstances and conduct of the person. The goal is healing the heart and change from the inside out, leading to transformation. Coming Home is a much needed project in our town as we have significant and increasing numbers of people who struggle with life and addiction. There's no residential program in our whole region, which is Thames Coromandel and Karakia districts. The present service providers in our area offer only some hours of support, yet for most people this is not enough to, if they get one session a week, especially if they have hit rock bottom. Our Healing and Recovery Centre will have high expectations of commitment to the program. People will learn to take responsibility for their lives and the people around them. The minimum stay is 1 year, but the journey back to wellness might take more, around 2 years. The residents will be connected with counsellors, mentors, and prime ministers and learn about life skills in general. The residents in our 5-stage program will have an intensive structured timetable and very strict rules. Participants will develop as an individual, learn to do life well and get back onto their own feet again. The goal is recovery, restoration, healing and wholeness. They will be reintegrated into society, reconnect with family and get work and housing. It will be a very safe environment as no bad behaviour is tolerated and the centre is strictly nicotine, drug and alcohol free with testing in place. We'll be selecting suitable house so that the residents are never on their own. The opening might be just a few months away. We have set up policies and are working on procedures, admission papers and other paperwork. At the same time, we are looking for a house, either rented or given. In any case, we'll need support from the council for a resource consent as well. We ask you to help us establish this distinguished centre and to support coming home. This can be done in many ways, with funds, donations, as a volunteer, with a building, granting consents, etc. The project is run through volunteers with a range of useful qualifications like psychology. And we do need about $12,000 as startup costs to equip the house with furniture, which would be second-hand furniture. So to keep it as low as possible, but it's a figure I think that's manageable. Long term, we aim to be self-sustaining. Please help us with funding to establish this well worth one-of-a-kind project. Thank you for your support.
Right on the button. Any quick, yes? Councillor Rebel?
Thank you. And Sonia, I commend you for the vision that you have for this and the energy and effort you're bringing to it. You pointed out that that this is nothing to do with the Thames Baptist Church. It's a separate entity and so on. Do you envisage that the people who will be benefiting from the Coming Home Charitable Trust, are they likely to be the same people who are also being involved in the Thames Baptist Church?
Yes, I have myself volunteered there for many, many, many years up to now. I'm still running Tasty Tuesdays, etc. So I do know a lot of people there. We asked the Baptist Church at the beginning if they wanted to take us under their wings, but they said no, thank you. And we thought, no, we're just going to continue and establish our own charity. But we're very happy to work together with them. And I do believe that we can work together and collaborate in many ways.
Right. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Rodley?
Hi. Just thinking, because you mentioned that Eddie Churton from the Baptist Church is looking at doing an emergency housing project. Do you feel that something like that would be a good thing to be done first, so that people that really need the sort of day-to-day, having a roof over their head sort of shelter, can be able to participate in that, and then people that really want to, like you said, actually, make a change in their lives can then be taken under the Coming Home Trust?
Could be. I believe that different ways and different institutions, can do cover for different situations and people, because everybody's a little bit different and not everybody would be happy to be in our project. So I think it's a good thing what he is doing. What I know from people who are really caught into their circumstances is that they do need a lot more than a roof over their head to really change their lives around.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Any further questions? I just get this absolutely clear in my head. This is short-term or long-term approach to the challenges out there?
It's a long-term approach. It's a long-term program, but I also want it to overflow into the community. So with seminars and teachings that can be useful for everybody. So it's not just for a small group of people, but it flows out to the rest of the community.
So homelessness is not part of it, is it?
Homelessness is a little bit part of it, yes, but especially those people who are sleeping. It's because there's a lot of homeless people, but it's only a small percentage that are living on the streets.
Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you for bringing it to us.
Thank you.
I'm sure that our Kate has probably taken notes about what you need and things like that, and she may be able to help you going forward with some of those things.
Thank you.
I'm sure there's a lot of things out there in the community which you could probably get free rather than have to pay for them by embedding and things like that.
Yes.
But anyway, well done.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing it coming to fruition.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Caroline McKenzie, please. Beg your pardon? Oh yeah, no, thank you, Rob. Because Rob's always telling me it's Carolyn.
Thank you, Rob. So, oh, have I got it upside down?
Next one.
Oh, next one. Can't see without my glasses on.
I'll get them.
So good morning, everybody. I'm Carolyn McKenzie. I'm here on behalf of Thames Museum Te Wharetaonga o Te Kawaranga. And we're going to talk about the proposed or the need for an extension at the museum. I'm sure that a lot of you are aware that we have outgrown our premises. And as my support people here today, I have Robin Pearce, who's on the committee and is the textiles person at the museum, and our patron, Serena Burton, who is dressed in her 1945 outfit so that you know that there's more to the museum than just gold. So here we go now.
I was going to say she looks like my mum, but then I thought that's probably inappropriate.
Well, she may look like your mother did in 1945.
Okay, so all you need to do is press that one there.
So do I have to go on it, do a little tick up there?
That one. Do you want me to do?
I forget my
It's a bit
glasses
of
in my
a-
bag.
That's all right. It's a bit small.
Okay.
There you go. You can just use your
And then
arrow.
just go down like
Yeah.
that. Okay.
You got it.
So our situation is that at the moment, the room where the textiles are kept, and remember these are mostly garments and some of them are over 100 years old, we have no wet weather access to that space. So it's only a fine weather access situation. That means that if Robin is working in that area and is trying to create a display in the museum, she has to wait for fine weather to bring the garments in from the storage area. Also, we're very, very hard pressed at the moment for workspace because the office is small, and if we're preparing a display or anything, we might have pieces of core flute that are like this, and we're working on it, and we just don't have any dedicated space for that. So the idea is to have an extension that will at least incorporate that. And so for those of you who've never been around the back at the museum, the situation is this. So at the top there, we see the entrance to the museum and the entrance with the door open to the textile room. And down below, we have the outline of a structure about 11.4 square metres, which could be a closing in of that entire porch area. And that would give us all-weather access to the textile room and room for a workspace as well. And here's a view of the museum as it is now at the top and as it would be with that structure built onto it as well. So I'd like to emphasise at this point that, of course, there's a lot of money involved in doing an extension of this nature, and it's been suggested to us that we might employ a professional grant seeker. So we've been recommended a professional grant seeker called Grant Cowie, Cowie Consultancy Limited, and he has had very considerable success at the Thames Squash Club. And I've spoken to the president, Lee Robke, and another committee member, and they're very enthusiastic about the results that they have had with Grant Cowie. So I'd like to ask you as a community board, rather than when we start on this project, us coming to the community board every few months and asking for money for this and money for that, if you would be willing to fund Grant Cowie for the first year. So in the first year that he is contracted, he charges $2,000 for a setup fee plus GST, and then $6,000 for the year for working for us. So he would be working for funding for the extension, but also for our other priority projects. So I'd like you to consider that, please, and if you were able to fund that $9,200 so that we could work with Grant Cowie and he could work with us, it would be a big help to us, and it would be a big help for you too, because you wouldn't be constantly bombarded with requests for smaller amounts of money. And whilst we could employ him ourselves, that would be money taken out of our building fund. So it would be just fantastic if you were able to fund it. So carrying on down now. So this is just a quick look inside the anteroom for the textile room, where we have the debugging freezer, which we use for any incoming goods to make sure that they haven't got larvae or silverfish or boar or anything like that. Robin wraps them up and puts them in the freezer for a couple of weeks, and that makes them then safe to go into the museum, because you can imagine once silverfish get into the museum, they'd be everywhere and that would be a disaster. So clothes can go in there, books, wooden objects. There are not so many things that can't go in there. So here is just a summary of why we need this extension. This is just looking at the small extension. So first of all, we have to have all-weather access to textiles. We've been talking about this for years, but we really have to get on and do it now because the climate seems to be getting wetter and wetter. We need to have a space where we can have a workbench. And by taking the sink and the debugging freezer out of the anteroom could then be used for storage. It can't be used for storage while it has the freezer and the sink in it. And we would get some additional storage for other things as well. So the textile storage, the main room, is now full to capacity. And that means that moving the workbench into the extension and the debugging freezer and sink will give us more textile storage. However, this is the go small option. Here it is here. This is the go small option. So there is our 11.4 square metre enclosure, and you can see the anteroom there and the main textile storage area. So we'd be changing our main entrance door around to the south side. However, some people have suggested to us that going small is not a very economical idea, that we would be far wiser to go big. And one of the reasons for the idea of going big is that we have a tiny little kitchen. Now, if you've ever been to anything at the museum and we've given you a cup of tea and a biscuit, this is where it all happens, in this tiny little space, which is about 2 metres wide and I think less than 1 metre deep. And it is really not ideal. You can see we've got just a little tiny freezer there on a bench, so everything's just not the best. And so we have this what I consider personally very inspiring option if we go for the go big option. So this builds out from the current rear entrance. It takes in the enclosure to the textile room, and it actually uses containers on the south and the north side as an option, which could be less expensive in the construction than actually having walling all the way around there. And this is the floor plan. So initially this plan didn't allow for the kitchen and it had two 20-foot containers. So I've had a little play with it and we've been able to shift the kitchen into that space there by reducing the size of one of the containers, and an outside door would take us into the grass area where the old container is now. And I believe there would be enough room on the east side down here where you could drive around, and if necessary we could have more parking or anything we wanted really. We could have barbecue, gazebo, who knows, parties out the back as well. How many minutes have I done? Thank you.
So, any questions of Carolyn?
Yep.
First, Councillor Rodley, followed by Councillor Revel. I was just looking that way first.
Actually, can I pass over to Councillor Revel? I completely forgot what my question was going to be.
Carolyn, could you flick back a few slides to your part A?
Which?
And again. First option. Yeah, first option. Yeah, yep.
Oh, first option.
Yeah, no, yep, wherever. Okay. So why? So my is there a stage process that would mean, like, if I look at that does not add to the bigger picture. Like, you've got this vision for an all singing, all dancing space, with a meeting room and additional storage,
now,
right?
Can I just go back to the last slide? Because, okay, in the middle there, this is something that we also need. Anyone who has been to a meeting knows that we have been previously crammed into the same size, but that on both sides there are display cases. And so that has actually made the area where we can put chairs for the speaker quite limited. So by having that space that Rob has put in the middle there, we could have set up for school groups or meetings with talks and things like that.
My quick. So let's stay on this one then. So my question, can we stay on go back to the one you were looking at? Yeah. So the red bit is this bit at the top here.
Yes, exactly. Right? Where it says
an outside door
textiles free
and so on.
sink.
Why would you not? If that was stage one of a bigger plan, why would you not build right away, go all the way along the back in your stage one? So why have the rear entry porch there? Why not have it much closer to the road? So you get a whole lot more space in your stage one.
Thank you. We have talked about that, and we have talked about it again recently. The reason is that so by shifting the door all the way down on the south side, you're saying basically. So first of all, it isn't as wide. It's only about, I think it's only about 3 meters from west to east, whereas no, sorry, from north to south, would be about 3 meters, whereas coming this way, it's nearly 4 meters, isn't it, Rob? 3.8? So that, first of all, we'd be getting a much narrower space. We'd have the door way down there. And then what would we have in the middle? A long, narrow space.
Actually, I think Councillor Revel was going to get a kick in the leg in a minute.
No, I should just preface it all with, I think it's just fantastic. You've got a vision for extending the museum and what it finally looks like and so on. Will be great, but just I'm down in the level of detail only.
I think the actual thing that came to us is you're looking for money towards the cost of employing somebody to raise funds. And I don't think, as I understand it, you probably settled on which option you're going to take, which would be dependent on how much you bring in, would it not?
Well, we had settled on the go small option, but then some people have mentioned that going bigger is more economical. Is that correct? Am I allowed to ask?
No, but you can talk to your architect outside the room if you wish.
I'd like to.
Because there's a name of an architect on there which you could approach and see him.
Well, am I allowed to say what I'm wondering? Is there that
Nah.
there might be someone in the room? who
Not
wants
really.
to-
I'm going to go to Councillor Rodley and ask him of his question.
So have you had indication from, is the person who goes after the grants, is his name Grant?
Yes, Grant Cowie.
Okay. Cool. That's not my question. So has Grant indicated what level of grants he thinks might be accessible by him for the museum?
He did say that grants for building projects are not as easy to come by as for other activities like displays or something like that. But he, when we talked about the go small option, he said that he thought that he would get the money together in about 6 months. And in the meantime, he would also be applying for grants for our other projects as well.
Right.
And he has, I approached him and spoke to him, and he said that he got back and he said that he could work with us. He's very busy, but he said that he could squeeze us in from August onwards.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, because I keep getting these little notes that have the words overtime on it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sure they'll talk about this over their lunch today.
Great. Thank you very much.
And thank you for bringing it to us. Ms. Effort, I was just wondering, do you have something pertinent? Oh, okay. Thank you. You got the message.
Good morning. My name is Ruth Efford.
Thanks, ladies.
Firstly, I'd just like to give a little blessing, please, to this meeting. Dear Lord, I ask that you bring to the table today clear minds, clear hearts and honesty from each and every one around here, read decisions to make. And may those that are standing for the next election, that they come with not just talk, but with the actions, that when they say they'll do something, they follow it up. Guide them, Lord, and give them the inner strength. Amen. I come to you on a couple of things. First of all, I was going to bring photos to show of what the Kopu boat ramp is like after the flood that we had, 3 weeks ago on a Friday night. I actually went out there and was on patrol that night and took photos. The water was right up to the second lot of car parking. However, if any of you want to go for a drive today, there is still debris there, because I was out there again last night checking on what the water level was like or what was happening with the rain that we've been having. And the debris is there. All these weeks later, I've got photos of the the weekend before, when there were people there with their boats parking over the debris. It disappoints me. I brought to attention of somebody, of a person, no, I'm not talking about staff per se, but I'm just saying I did bring it to their attention about the rutting that was there due to mean drivers, which is still there 2 months later. This is a big investment that you people put in. It is well used, but to see it being left in a terrible state like this, it is a hazard. The 3 rocks out there cannot be seen in dark when you're in heavy weather or in rain and what have you. They are a major hazard. And I have spoken about that and basically been laughed at. And I don't mean by you people. And I just think that it's a shame that such a big investment is actually being abused. But very quickly, I noted that for 1 week only, that the Boundary Creek bridge is going to cause the coast to be closed for travelling from Coromandel to here. What a wonderful opportunity for the mussel barges to actually bring up their barges to the Kopu commercial ramp, which is what it was really intended for, and offload into their trucks there and then. Please, I ask, is there some way through the community board that you can actually instigate that negotiations start? Because I saw a comment that, oh no, it is not possible. Well, then why did we go into such, and I say we as ratepayers, go into such a large investment when it's not going to be commercially viable? That would take those trucks up, and there are lots of trucks on the road because I've been watching them lately. They go up full and they come back empty. But at any rate, the other thing is North Tararoo Reserve. Congratulations, someone's gone in there with a lot of metal and filled the holes with a lot of metal, but already some of those holes are now emptied out. And I was there last night, went back, followed in the daylight today. And yes, there is going into the car park there, quite a nice long line of potholes that have come up. So our contractors that we're getting are not fulfilling their role. There's only one way to fix potholes. I've spoke about it too when the people were there when the big floods were on and caused all that damage, and yet nobody listens to having a job done properly done once. So I thank you for your time, and please keep your minds honestly there for the people in the community because we are hurting.
Thank you, Ruth. Sorry, Councillor Revel.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. First of all, Ruth, thank you for your blessing. And secondly, those particular issues you've raised, have you lodged requests for service on each of those things?
And I've done another one again today.
Okay, thank you.
And they came back finished and they hadn't been done. When I did the Kopu ramp one some time ago, I got an email to say that it has been closed and done.
Any further questions? Being none, thank you very much. Thank you for the prayer. Would somebody care to move, please, and second that the Thames Community Board receives Martin Spinks, Mike Dwight, Sonia Mertz, Carolyn Mackenzie, and Ruth Efford to the public, as speakers in the public forum. Moved by Deputy Chair Rob Johnson, the seconder, Councillor Sinclair. No further discussion. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declared carried. Thank you very much. Excellent. So items not on the agenda. Do we have no items missing today? Eight. Poor Chair got his thing in. Right. Conflicts of interest? No. Minutes of confirmation? The Thames Community Board confirms the 30th of April 2025 minutes of true and correct record of proceedings. I have a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Revel, seconded by Board Member Mackenzie. No? Yep. Is there any discussion as to the correctness? There's nothing, no other discussion.
Can I just point out, I did not move it because I was not here for the second half of the meeting.
Oh, in that case, we'll take it away. You only move that they're correct. You don't actually have to be here. Moved by Deputy Chair. Please change the mover to Deputy Chair Johnson, please. These are all preset. These. It was written there. So just when you put your hand up and down, it really. Sorry. Yeah.
No, I do have a question about the section I was not in attendance for, which is section 3.2 action schedule. 3 of the items that were raised in public forum have appeared in the action schedule, but we haven't done anything to address the concerns of the natural burial group that came to see us. And I just wondered if that had gone onto the action schedule, in which case it needs to be in the minutes.
So the item is being actioned. It hasn't been completed yet, but it is in the pipeline to be actioned.
So it doesn't need to be on the action schedule because it is an operational matter that's already happening. That's perfect. Thank you.
Right. There been no others. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declared carried. I'll sign them later. Right. Poor man's been hanging out waiting. So items 2.1 at 10:40. Thames Community Board CAPEX Work Program 22-23 and other operational information. Wow, really? 22 and 23, another ongoing this program? Thank you very much, Luke. Thank you for your forbearance. And I know you would have liked to have said something at Totra Valley. Oh, JF is still on. Oof. Therefore.
Through the chair, good morning, everybody. There is a standard update this meeting for the CAPEX Works program. There is the addition of the attachment for Totra Valley, so that you'll get those regularly as well, with a bit more detail. And I'm sure I am ready now for any questions you may have around that or other items.
Okay, rather, because it's getting near the end of the training and we're running late, I'm not going to run down through the action schedule, but has anybody got any questions? Councillor Rebel,
Thanks.
followed by.
First of all, could I say that I really appreciated the additional detail that seemed to be in this report, of the things, itemised out about what's happening and so on. That was really good. Well done. My question at this stage is about the path renewal at Porritt Park and fencing renewal, and I am curious about that because Porritt Park has been in existence. The new Porritt Park, if you like, or the new playground has been in existence only for a year or so, and already we're having to do something to the path and the fence. Question?
It's a question I can't answer. It's been delivered by the parks team directly, that one. But what I can do is I'll go away and find the answer for you. And
that'll be fine.
through.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? No fingers poised?
I do.
Oh, sorry.
Can I just query what the hold up with the Archaeological Authority is with the parking improvements at Queen Street?
A very small strip of land, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just really, you're just widening a slip lane, creating a slip lane. It's the Porritt Park, Queen Street parking improvements.
Gotcha.
Sorry. And
Okay.
Tiny little piece of land.
So there was a bit of investigation work required.
Yeah.
So we received the project and we needed to loop back and do investigation work, but we also needed to engage with the NZTA because it goes into their land, and any engagement like that does take a bit of time. We're reliant on others. So we do have that now and we're proceeding.
It just says Archaeological Authority, and I thought there were maybe, you bumped into something.
Those sorts of engagements always take time.
All right. Oh, it's just the engagement itself. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Oh, I could save you $100,000 there if you relocate that band room to Tauru Cultural Centre. Well, that's money. Any further questions? All right. Very good.
Just through the chair, just wanted to
Yes.
query, is there any further information you want to hear about Totara Valley in an upcoming report, or are you happy with it as it stands, that level of detail?
That's attachment B?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I was just the big pages. So Totara Valley, attachment B, which is exactly what Luke's just asking about. Just very quickly, because there's people out there in the world listening to us. The cost, the budgets this year will be underspent in the application for budgets to carry over. Have you got an indication, ballpark, what you're going to carry over, please?
There's actually a little bit of work to do with this one because the decision was made in December around what we would do, scope of work.
Right.
And so it's this. The scope of work has been reduced, so the width of the road is less. The amount of stormwater and other water infrastructure is now less than what we required originally. So what we've actually got to do this year is re-baseline for next year completely. And we've got 4 different projects we've got to do that across because it's broken into 4: roading, 3 stormwater, wastewater and water projects individually. And so we've actually got to re-baseline all of those to a point that matches what the decision that council made in December in regards to the reduced width road and the requirements for that. We have, because the decision was in December, we then had to engage the right professional services in the new year because the timing was really unfortunate to get the project stood up with an agreed deliverable. We've done that work, but we're just working out now how much are we expecting to get back from that work, and then how we phase that going forward for the remainder of the project. So what I'd suggest is it's not easy to give you that answer, and I'd likely be wrong.
Yeah.
But we have that work underway, and we can provide clarity in a future update as to what will be carried forward. But as you know, we're spending 2-3 million less than we originally have in the LTP, and we just need to rephase that through.
So Martin, do you question?
Yes, good morning. On the
Councillor Wadley?
top on the second page about the Thornton Bay slip stabilisation, there has been some concern from some residents up there about the closing of the road up there. I guess I'm just after some reassurance that doing it that way is the way that you're doing it with, like, is it 10 minutes either side of natural breaks where they'd have the smoko afternoon tea, lunch type thing is the best way to make sure this gets done by the 30th of June, because otherwise potentially it's government money and they're not really into extensions at the moment?
So yes, through Chair, I can answer that question. I've been pulled directly into that particular project because of the issues around it. So we're not actually able to deliver by 30 June now, but we have negotiated an additional month with the funder to finish that work off. The original timing with the traffic management plan, where it was open, they worked for 50 minutes, then they opened for 10 and they worked another 50 minutes, was really focused on trying to lessen the impact on the local residents and the commitments they've got to live their lives. What actually, when the contractors started doing that work, what it looked like was they would be working, they would only get half an hour of work done when they had to then spend 10 minutes disestablishing and getting out of the way and tidying the road up, open for 10 minutes, spend 10 minutes re-establishing, and then only get 30 minutes worth of work.
And potentially, I guess, there will be a number of occasions where, in fact, no vehicles accessed backwards and forwards in that time that it was open.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it was really inefficient from a delivery perspective. What also occurred with this project is the unanticipated occurred. So weather events slowed it down. We received materials, which are the major big steel piping, which was substandard. So we rejected it, and we had to send it back and get some of those sent back out. And that's all delay in time kind of scenario. And the last thing that occurred with that project as well is when they actually started doing the drilling. So we did the geotechnical, we tested, but until you actually start drilling, you don't find out actually how hard the ground is. And it was a lot harder than what the geotechnical advice had provided. And so that slowed down the drilling. Now, there's a catch-22 on that. Harder ground is actually better in the long term because it means we've got a more solid foundation for these retaining walls to be built in, but it's taking us longer to deliver. So short-term pain, long-term gain kind of scenario. Now, all of those types of elements added up for this project, which really pushed us to a point where we had no time contingency left to deliver. And we needed to look at how we would provide access to the road differently. The contractor went back to the community. We've had a WhatsApp group, comms, we've got letter drops, and we've met with residents. And we proposed a change where we dropped some of those 10-minute scenarios and we had much larger construction periods. We got a reasonable amount of kickback to that. We had some support as well. We've found a middle ground. Just to cut to the chase, where we've got 2 periods in a day where we've got longer construction periods. So what we're providing is the 10-minute windows at the start and the end of the day, and then either side of lunch, we've got 2 decent amount of construction period for the contractor. That'll allow us to meet the timeline of 30 July that we've got now.
Thank you, Luke.
Thank you.
Deputy Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Luke, that little explanation you gave in the middle of that about comms is really good and pertinent, probably to where I'm going with the Totara Valley. We heard from somebody in public forum very unhappy about level of comms and stakeholder engagement. I notice in your project summary report, you say the comms are on track and all the rest of it, and that a communication engagement plan is currently being developed. Is that well developed yet, or is it not quite developed? I mean, I'm just trying to gauge why this particular person felt that they weren't getting the information, or, you know, have you got WhatsApp groups and mail drops and all that sort of stuff happening, or is that due to happen, or is the project not at that stage where it needs to happen? What's your take on that?
So we are in the planning phase for the project. Right. Essentially what we've got is an approved project now. So we're developing through our operational disciplines, so in a structured way we deliver our projects. The engagement prior to that, my understanding is that it's probably almost as old as me going back this particular one, and there's been different touch points throughout. The 24th of November that was mentioned earlier, that was a full meeting in this chambers where we got really good representation from the community. The room was full. And I think there is probably a difference in view around where the support lay because the vocal compared to numbers are not the same thing. So we had a very vocal small group in opposition. We had a much larger group in the room that actually different staff member in our post review is, did we, we look at these things and go, okay, where was the room? Did we have the support? How does that inform what we bring to the council? And how do we represent that in our report for that December meeting? And so it was consistent with staff that were in that meeting that actually the support was much stronger than the opposition, even though the opposition was quite vocal. And, the examples of that in that meeting was, you had some bigger business owners and teams supporting it to enable them to bring people in who will then want to live and work in Thames. You had one of the younger people that came along, and must be late 20s, early 30s, really talking to the fact of young families and being able to live in Thames is a challenge, and that the temptation is to go elsewhere, and this is a real positive from their perspective. So there was a wide range of views. Don't dismiss at all that Martin has some really clear points of opposition for this. We have worked with the community at that point to lead up to the report, and our comms and engagement plan that they've been doing has a clear view on how we're going to continue to do that, not just with the local residents, but also the local businesses or the developers. There's a whole host, iwi partners. All of that's being considered for a structured way forward.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a really good explanation. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. I would expect that Urban Solutions will be right onto that, have an open book policy going up there. It's critical that we develop that area, even without any contracts with the council, with Seabass and council, but it's just so critical that we get some development close to town, really is. And I was quite surprised that people who are currently up there, there's only really one who seems to be more angry about it than any others. Most people I've spoken to, which includes being up there just this week, are very comfortable with the concept. They are concerned about getting out onto 25, but not being totally against the development. And by opening up and bringing that path down through the subdivision and maybe able to bring them straight out and onto rail trail will take a lot of the tension away about people walking down the road and crossing the road at that current intersection, bring them further down the road and they can get across. Yes, Councillor Rodley?
Just an additional thing about on the Totara Valley project. So before the roadworks was done at that intersection with State Highway, there was a bus shelter, and the bus used to stop alongside on the east side of the State Highway there. When all that work was done, that shelter seemed to just sort of get pushed off to one side. And I note there was a comment, I think in Martin's, one of Martin's submissions or emails that he sent, that the bus is now stopping on the other side of the road to pick people up instead. Do we know if that bus shelter is going to be reinstated where it was? Because every time I see it, it seems to be just sort of sitting there and doesn't look very well used or anything.
Through Chair, thanks for raising that. It is a matter that I've not looked at and aware of, but I can absolutely make some inquiries around the bus shelter. Yeah.
Thank you.
Board Member Rakwa.
Thank you, Chair. Regard for Thorn Valley or Thornton Bay slip. Is it off the Adam Road?
It is on Adams Road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And how many houses will be affected on that area?
So the works that are underway, there was essentially two walls, but it's broken into four. Two of them, which is the work they've been doing to date, is on private land, but it protects the downward slope from failure. So we're protecting that house, a part of the road, and the houses underneath. The work they're moving on to now is the wall that's directly adjacent to part of Adams Road, probably halfway up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So project like this, if they delay some reason, so they go over the budget, or we're still under the budget, the cost-wise?
Cost-wise, we are still working within the existing budget.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right. Oh, Councillor Hill.
Thanks, Luke, and thanks for your explanations. It's been really helpful. In the public forum, there was somebody who was expressing concerns, and there were two questions in particular that were asked. I guess they were yes or no answers related to concerns that Waikato Regional Council has about stormwater, and one about Wakakatahi's objections to the plan. The questions being, have those objections from Wakakatahi been addressed? And secondly, have the concerns from Waikato Regional Council been addressed? So I guess the two questions I have is, one, are there objections and concerns from those organisations? And two, what would be the answer if there are those objections and concerns?
So through the Chair, just clarity, it is Totara Valley.
Yes.
Yep, we're back to, we are doing some last work around the stormwater plan. And so we're engaging with the other agencies as part of that. We've received no formal objections from any agency, and we are working through the detail around how it integrates with their interests as part of that work. So thank you.
Any further questions of Luke? I want to thank you, Luke. I find that you're open and honest about your answers, which is a really refreshing thing, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
I know we're all engineers and we're all geotechs and everything else around the table when it comes to these things, but you've been very patient with us. So thank you very much. And hopefully, I think we'll have 2 more chances to speak to you before our training is finished, but it's been really nice having you on board to date. Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Okay, so it's all right for you people, the other 6 people sitting around the table, that you're not getting your ear bent. I was going to have a break, not allowed to have a break, so we've got to go right through and finish. So the action schedule and then the chairperson's report, and then, oh, do you want to move that?
Yeah.
Right. I had to find that piece of paper that says that. The Thames Community Board receives Thames Community Board CAPEX work program 2024-25 and other information updates. Report dated 25th of May 2025. To have a mover, moved by Board Member Rakwa. Do we have a second? A second by Councillor Rebel. All those in favour, please aye. Those against, declared carried. So no abstain. We don't abstain. Next one, 2.2 action schedule. This is the board area manager's portfolio now, isn't it? Do you wish to speak to it? No, you don't have to. All right.
We've had a slight change, and so I am now updating the Thames Community Board action schedule before each meeting. And there are 5 actions from the last meeting with updates on each one.
Very good. Okay, Councillor Rebel.
Thank you. This is just a side question really, but we're talking about the footpath rehabilitation. One of the things that I have been hearing recently are concerns from some of the people in our district who have mobility issues, and in particular their ability to get around the footpaths with their Zimmer frames or their mobility scooters, and with mobility scooters getting off the footpath onto the road, up to the footpath and all the other side. My question is, do we in our footpath policy or whatever it is, have we got something that says that when we do these repairs, we have in mind that they need to be mobility scooter friendly or whatever it might be? Does that make sense? And you may not be able to answer, but it's a question I'd like answered at some point.
Our roading team has specifications for their renewals, and so they work to specifications, so NZTA specifications.
But
I will find out more information specifically about the on and off
Yes,
a footpath for you and come back to you.
thank you.
just on that point there, was it WASP? Was it WASP? They've just been in town and they've just been going around on mobility scooters, on a mobility scooter, checking all those. Is it WASP? WSP, is it? Yeah, so they've just been doing all that. That's, I noticed them going down the street with their little mobility scooter. And
How are you finding it in yours, Adrian?
well, I was just thinking you were talking about something you had a vested interest in. Councillor Rodley.
So I understand there was back in 2014 accessibility audit reports done for the major areas around the peninsula. And I've had a number of people, for instance, from Grey Power, Age Concern, the Lifestyle Supported Trust, who have said to me that they've seen the little, it's kind of like a extended golf cart thing that has been driving along, and it checks, I don't know, heights of things and stuff like that. It concerns me that it doesn't seem that doesn't seem to be consultation with our community that are using the things all the time. And we've also had information about 4 years ago from the roading team saying everything was compliant, particularly around, I'm just thinking of a Thames area because that's where I live. However, there's a difference between compliant and actually making it so that wheelchairs and mobility scooters and things, and we have some very interesting devices with the Lifestyle Trust and our older population. There's a big difference between compliant and actually it working properly. And we had Gordon Jackman a couple of years ago ask about that accessibility audit and ask that the groups that are mostly affected by it actually have some input into it. And it just concerns me that WSP may drive around in their little vehicle and say, yep, fine, everything's cool, tick it off. And we would be missing out extremely valuable input from people that are actually using it. I know that's a very long question, so I'll just let Rose talk to it.
Understanding from the roading team is that they just use standard specifications. But this particular topic that we're talking about is a generic topic. It's not about the Mary Street matter on the action schedule, but I will look into what kind of input they get from the community, if they get any, and so what the process is.
I think Councillor Riley, that you had some very good points there, and one of the things about boards is we have certain delegations, and one is the local roading system, and you would think that somewhere down the line we would get that information back. I also see they had quite a large vehicle with series of cameras and going up and down the road, taking shots and elevations and all sorts of things. And I was up Mountsea Road there one morning, so very early in the morning, I might add. So most of the motel must have been uncomfortable. But they were up there and they were setting up for the day and doing a run down Mountsea Road, checking road services, distance between road and curb and channel. I think that's a very salient point that you raise about that, particularly as the peninsula now, but in the old former days, Thames had more people over the age of 65. Now it's the peninsula has more people over the age of 65, 31% currently and 41% by 2030. And they are the ones, because we have old paths and old step downs off roads and things like that, and very few of the little markers that go out for the visually impaired people to see where the intersections are. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Councillor Sinclair?
As you know, I've been trying to encourage us all to use our market stall as an opportunity for increased engagement. And I was wondering if maybe this is an opportunity for us to be proactive and say, we would really love to hear your stories, and we're going to be at the stall from this time to this time. Please come and talk to us, and just let Age Concern know, let Grey Power know, let the Supported Lifestyle Trust know, because this is a really important issue and it has been going on for a very long time. And I remember when my boy was a baby, streets that I avoided because it was difficult to get up and down on the pram. And so, we're actually not just talking about the older population, we're talking about anybody with a mobility problem, which might be a young person who doesn't know how to walk yet and their parents, or it could be somebody who is temporarily disabled or whatever. So this is, I throw the gauntlet to you guys as governance of this town to say, actually, let's be really proactive and maybe in the break discuss how we could be front-footing this to give information back to our roading team rather than just waiting for them to come back with reports for us.
Yeah, I think if that goes on to the action schedule as such and be carried through to the next triennium, I think that's a very good point there, seeing that it was in your fertile imagination to come up with the stall in the first place. I think
through
that's
there,
important.
Option is, and you know how I'm a stickler for evidence and having our story straight, is a briefing from the writing team where we're proactive along the lines of what you're saying, get all the information together, get photographs, get evidence, have the briefing and have the discussion and ask the questions. I think that might be very helpful. So we'll work on that.
Right, any further questions regarding the action schedule?
I would just advocate for what has been suggested with councillor Sinclair to be getting a whole lot of feedback
Yep.
that they then could be covered in a briefing.
Absolutely. I would love to ask Carolyn what if there's any problems with that drain down there. And I think it's on the action schedule. It's in progress, but I think we need to reset the boundaries of what we're wanting down there. We have had discussions with our area manager, some quite intense discussions with the area manager. I think we definitely need to look at something down outside that area before a serious accident happens. So I think that definitely needs to stay there until we get that sorted. The interesting one about the COPU public conveniences, you'll see it in the CAPEX program. They actually have stalled the installation of the toilets while we wait for building consents. You would think that they know the toilets are coming, or toilet was coming, it would have a building consent in place, wouldn't you? Seriously? Note that down, John Freer? No. Yes, Councillor Rodley.
I don't want to sound like a squeaky wheel. I still feel, and I would like it to be considered, that with our action schedule, we have items on there in progress, then we have some saying completed, and then they disappear off here. I would still feel that this action schedule should keep the things in there that have been completed, whether it's a separate table down below, whether they're a different colour, because we seem to be, not constantly, but we're often asked, oh, what happened? That particular thing was on the action schedule. What's now happened to it? Has it been done? Has it been assigned out to a contractor? Has the actual physical work been done? And we just don't know. And it's just been a constant thing of mine that we just sort of seem to want to keep this action schedule to, only fit on like the top half of a A4 page. I'd just really like to be able to see things so we can look at it in a year's time and go, hey, wow, look, there was 20 things that our community
I think the governance officer's got something to say.
Yes, I do. It's not the first time this question has been asked, and I will give the same response as well. If you wanted to see all those, they would be 3 years worth of actions, which would be extremely lengthy. But we have advised the board that these actions don't disappear. They are not deleted. We do have a spreadsheet that keeps this list of actions that are completed in progress. It's a list we can access anytime. So if you do have questions, just ask us before the meeting, in an email, whenever you see us, and we can give you that update that you want ahead of time.
If I may ask a follow-up question.
Sure.
Is there some requirement that we don't have that on this schedule?
It's only because the report would end up being 4 or 5 pages long.
But with respect, why does that matter? If we've got a 34-page schedule agenda as opposed to a 36 or a 7 or 40-page one, particularly if we can look at that and go, oh, yep, cool, there's 3 pages of completed things. And I'm not going to read them line by line because I can see that they're completed. And I'm sorry, I just really struggle with the idea that
if you want to know something about a past action, you can always ask us so we can give it to you. And it would be CC'd to everybody in the whole board so they're all aware of the update or all the actions pertaining to one particular topic. But going forward, this is no longer a governance item. So you can discuss that request with Rose in the break on how you think that could work and how she can facilitate that for you.
Thank you.
Okay, so councillor Rebel.
I'm just also, I'm wondering, is this the point where, so there was something else that was raised in the public forum about an RFS that seemed to be incorrectly responded to, and also a suggestion about being proactive in that week that the Boundary Creek road is being, when the coast is being closed to the repair Boundary Creek, to have the suggestion that perhaps the mussel industry could be thinking, hey, on that particular week, they might need to do something about moving mussels rather than bringing it down the coast road, which will be closed, but bringing the barges down. And I'm just wondering, is that something that we could request could be investigated under the action schedule?
Just on the matter about mussel barges, I understand the Thames Community District Council discussed that matter and gave agreement for mussel barges to come down here over that 4-day period.
If I may, Mr. Chair, that was always our understanding last term, both at council and community board, that the new facility to be built at Kopu, which has now been completed, was the emergency haul out for the mussel industry. And I thought that was well understood within the mussel industry as well. I've certainly had that conversation with two people involved with the industry. So I think it would be useful to get some confirmation of that, but I understood that was generally pretty known because it was part of the original brief of the Kopu Marine Precinct project.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. Councillor, I'll come back. Councillor Rodley?
And Waka Kotahi, in their information that they've been sending out, have stressed that they have been involved in conversations with council, with businesses, with emergency services, with Health NZ around that closure and how it's going to affect all those. They're not just saying, hey, we're going to close it, sort stuff out yourself. There's a lot of stuff that Waka Kotahi have been doing in the background.
Let me tell you, the Land Transport New Zealand, NZTA, have not been in communication with our business, and we operate 24/7 for Ministry of Justice and New Zealand Police. So we have had no discussion whatsoever with them. I only hope that the other people have, and I expect that we turn up there for something which has just occurred on the other side, a coroner's case, that we should be able to get access across here somewhere or another. If not, they need to rethink what they're doing. Deputy Chair?
I just have a quick query, Chair, with regard to Kopu Marine. Does anybody know, area manager perhaps, who actually is responsible for cleaning that, and taking care of it?
So the process is that we follow our normal RFS system.
I'm just talking. I'm talking in general terms.
Keeping it clean and tidy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when Ruth Efford was presenting to you, I took a note that she raised an RFS and was told that it was closed. So I'm going to follow up on that and find out what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks. And the rutting in the car park surface as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Chair.
And
So all those matters raised in the public forum, area manager notes them down for the action schedule. If so required.
the action schedule. That'll be.
Thank you, Rose.
Yeah,
that's
so
I realise that. I was also just, it was a general query about, it must be on the maintenance schedule in general though, the looking and the taking care of. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Councillor Rebel? It went on, went off. I just turned it off. Going back to Councillor Sinclair, right, with regards to these mussels, its closure is July, August. Oh, October, is it? Okay. Oh, well, what would be happening in October? Elections. So I think probably it's in our area, it's in our ward. We probably should get some advice about what's happening on that. So we'll pass it over to the area manager to get some information on that, please, and circulate it to the board, so at least we're aware of what's happening, because people talk about closing the Boundary Bridge road, section of that road, and a lot of people don't know where it is. We spent some time looking for it on the Google map to find it. We do know actually where it is when you drive there, but on the Google map. And yeah, it's an awkward situation. Councillor Rodley.
So I have been asked, and Waka Kotahi person has got hold of me to try to arrange a meeting to talk about speed limits just north of Thames. It's through the Mayor and the CE are all aware of it as well. So I'd be happy to add an extra paragraph into our phone conversation to say there is concern around the Boundary Creek road closure, and just to try to find out what their comms are going to be between now and early November.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Sorry, we can't. I see someone in the public forum wanted to say something. Can't do that. So somebody care to move? Whoa. Received action schedule report dated 22nd of May 2025. That's an old one. Move by Deputy Chair. Do we have second, please? Seconded by Councillor Sinclair. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declared carried. Chairperson's report, I'll take that as being read. Gee, off the grass, I was going to read it out now. Have you all got a copy? Have you got a signed copy of the Chairperson's report? Right. Oh, there's a thing on that. Oh,
I have a question.
Oh, we do too on the board. Yeah. Oh, on the 13th of August, we have a briefing from, thank you, Don. On the 13th of August, we have a briefing from NZTA at our briefing meeting about the closing of the Boundary Bridge. There you are. At 10:30 a.m. Don't be late. No, it's part of the whole meeting. Where's the Thames Community Board received the Chairperson report dated the 3rd of June 2025. I'll so move.
I have a question.
Seconded by Councillor Rebel.
No. I'm not seconding. I've got a question.
Oh. On what? Oh, thank you. So we can discuss it. If you don't second it, we're not going to take a discussion on. Seconded by Councillor Rodley. Any discussion?
Yes. Is it my turn, Mr. Chair? I'm interested on the second page of the report on the 13th of May. I'm just wondering who the person was who went to the business after 5 at Baxter's.
Oh. Well, that is sad. We'll note that for future reference if you want to.
And I understand that board member Rikwa was there as well.
Oh, yeah. But we're not here to discuss who was where and what. The correction in the spelling. If you need something to be tacked on the end of the chair's report, you make sure that the governance officer has it. She'll go through it and approve for the items that go on to the chairperson's report. And that's about it, because that goes out quite clearly around to all people to have the chance to have something on the chairperson's report. The main part of the report, of course, is the front page. No. Right. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, declared carried. Report to exclude. Oh, that's a trick in itself.
I'll move that we move into public exclude.
Are we going to do that now? Going to go right through that now and then have lunch. Well, there you are. 15 minutes. Where's the person speaking to it? Online, okay. So the Thames Community Board excludes the public from the following parts of the proceedings of this meeting, namely excluded minutes for confirmation, 3.2 Kiwi Rail new council license for access to Rose Park and Thames Airfield. Do we have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Revel, seconded by Deputy Chair. Proposed to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against declared carried. Is that Mr. Green on there?